Jiho walked through the tall doors of the Galactic University of Sciences. His backpack felt heavy on his shoulders as he looked around the huge building. Everything here was much bigger than what humans were used to. The walls stretched up so high that he had to bend his neck back to see the ceiling. Other students moved past him in the hallway. Most of them were not human. Jiho saw tall beings made of what looked like blue crystal walking together. Their bodies caught the light from the windows and made rainbow colors on the walls. These were the Vextar people. He had read about them in his study books before coming here. A group of insect-like creatures clicked and buzzed as they talked to each other. Their 6 legs moved quickly across the smooth floor. These were the Krill. Jiho watched them carry books and learning tools that were designed for their different hands. Some students looked like moving clouds of colored gas inside clear suits. The Nethan people had to wear these special suits to keep their gas bodies together. They floated a little bit above the ground as they moved. Jiho was the only human he could see. Earth had just joined the Galactic University program last year. He was one of the first human students to come here. This made him feel both excited and nervous. He looked at his schedule tablet. His first class was xenobiology. This meant studying alien life forms. Jiho had always loved animals back on Earth. He had worked at zoos and animal rescue centers. His teachers on Earth said this experience would help him here. The classroom was huge. Chairs and desks were made to fit all different body types. Some were tall for the crystal people. Some had special holes for the insect people's extra legs. Some were open spaces for the gas people to float in. Jiho found a human-sized chair near the back. As he sat down, other students looked at him. Their eyes were very different from human eyes, but he could tell they were curious about him. Some whispered in their own languages. A tall being walked into the room. This was Professor Krixtal. She had 4 arms and skin that changed colors like a mood ring. Her voice was deep when she spoke. "Welcome to Advanced Xenobiology," she said. "Today, we will observe a very dangerous creature. The Shadow Maw comes from the outer rim worlds. It is one of the most deadly predators we know." All the alien students moved back in their seats. Jiho heard nervous sounds from around the room. The crystal people's bodies stopped glowing as bright. The insect people's clicking became very fast. The gas people's colors became darker. "This creature has killed many researchers," Professor Krixtal continued. "Its bite has poison that can kill most life forms in seconds. Its claws can cut through metal. It moves faster than most beings can see." A large glass box rose from the floor in the center of the room. Inside was something that looked like a mix between a big cat and a dragon. It was black with silver spots. Its eyes glowed red in the dark. When it moved, Jiho could see muscles under its fur. It was about the size of a lion from Earth. The Shadow Maw paced back and forth in its cage. It made low growling sounds. Sometimes it would jump at the glass walls. When it did this, all the alien students moved further back. "The containment field uses the most advanced technology in the galaxy," the professor said. 3 layers of energy shields keep us safe. The creature cannot break through them." Jiho looked at the animal more closely. He stood up from his chair to see better. This made some students gasp with fear. "Human student!" called out Hana, one of the crystal people. "Do not go closer. It is very dangerous." But Jiho was not afraid. He had worked with big cats at the zoo on Earth. Tigers, lions, and leopards. This creature moved like they did. It held its body the same way. The sounds it made were similar, too. "It looks scared," Jiho said out loud. The alien students looked at him like he was crazy. Deho, one of the insect people, made rapid clicking sounds that meant he was very worried. "Scared?" Professor Krixtal asked. "This is an apex predator. It does not feel fear." Jiho watched the animal more. "Look at how it holds its tail low. See how its ears are back? Those are fear signs. It is in a strange place with strange smells and sounds. Of course it is scared." The other students did not understand. On their homeworlds, predators were rare. Most of their species had evolved on planets where they were the hunters, not the hunted. They had never learned to read animal body language, like humans had. Mira, one of the gas people, floated closer to Jiho. "On my world, we developed technology before we met any dangerous animals. We do not understand these fear signs you speak of." "Humans lived with predators for millions of years," Jiho explained. "We had to learn their language to survive. We had to know when they were angry, scared, hungry, or just playing." Professor Krixtal was interested now. "Your species lived Alongside apex predators? How did you not go extinct? We learned to work with them instead of just running away, Jiho said. Some became our friends. We call them pets. Dogs came from wolves. Cats chose to live with us. We even worked with horses and other big animals. The alien students could not believe this. Sora, another student, asked, "You kept predators as companions? By choice?" "Yes." Jiho nodded. "Many humans have dogs or cats in their homes. They sleep in our beds and eat our food. We love them like family." Just then, warning lights began flashing red. An alarm started making loud noises. The computer voice spoke. "Containment field malfunction. Containment field malfunction." The energy shields around the Shadow Maw's cage began to flicker. The creature stopped pacing and looked around. It could sense something was changing. All the alien students activated emergency procedures. Protective shields came up around their desks. Communication devices called for help. Some students started moving toward the exit doors. But the shields around the cage failed completely. The glass box opened with a hiss. The Shadow Maw was now free in the classroom. Every alien in the room was terrified. This was their worst nightmare. A deadly predator was loose among them. Their bodies shook with fear. Some made crying sounds in their own languages. The creature jumped out of its cage and landed on the floor. It looked around the room at all the moving beings. Its red eyes seemed to glow brighter. But Jiho did not run. He did not hide behind a shield. Instead, he watched the animal's body language. He saw that it was more confused than angry. It was in a new place, with new smells and sounds. All the alarm noises and flashing lights were making it more scared. "Everyone be quiet and stop moving," Jiho said in a calm voice. "Are you insane?" Hana called out from behind her shield. "It will kill us all." The Shadow Maw turned toward the crystal person's voice. It took a step in her direction. This made her glow even dimmer with fear. Jiho slowly moved between the creature and the other students. He did not make any fast movements. He kept his voice low and soft. "Hey there," he said to the animal. "It's okay. Nobody wants to hurt you." The Shadow Maw looked at this strange two-legged being. It had never seen a human before. Jiho smelled different from the other creatures in the room. He did not smell like fear. The creature tilted its head to one side, just like a curious cat. Jiho smiled. This was exactly what he had hoped to see. The Shadow Maw stood in the middle of the classroom looking at Jiho. All around them, alien students hid behind their protective shields. The alarm lights kept flashing red. The computer voice kept repeating warnings about the containment failure. Jiho took a small step forward. The creature's ears moved up a little bit. This was a good sign. When cats were curious, their ears pointed forward. When they were scared or angry, the ears went back. "Easy now," Jiho said in a soft voice. "Nobody here wants to hurt you." Professor Crystal spoke through the room's communication system. She was now safely behind a thick metal barrier. "Human student, move away from that creature immediately. It is extremely dangerous." But Jiho knew better. He had seen this same behavior in big cats at the rescue center. The animal was scared and confused, but it was not aggressive. Its tail was not lashing back and forth, its claws were not extended. It was just trying to understand what was happening. "Look at its body language," Jiho called out to the other students. "It's not hunting, it's exploring." Deho, the insect student, clicked rapidly behind his shield. In the Krill language, fast. Clicking meant extreme fear. "You cannot read the mind of an alien predator," he said. "Your human experience means nothing here." The Shadow Maw turned toward the sound of Deho's voice. The clicking noise was sharp and loud. It hurt the creature's sensitive ears. The animal crouched down low and made a warning growl. "Stop making noise," Jiho said quickly. "Loud sounds scare it." He slowly crouched down too, making himself smaller. This was a trick he had learned with nervous animals. When humans stood up tall, they looked like a threat. When they made themselves smaller, animals felt safer. The Shadow Maw looked at Jiho again. It stopped growling. This strange being was not acting like prey, but it was also not acting like a threat. It was doing something the creature had never seen before. Jiho slowly extended one hand toward the animal. His palm was open and facing up. This showed that he had no weapons. Many animals understood this gesture, even across different worlds. "What are you doing?" Mira whispered from her floating position behind a shield. Her gas form had turned a pale, frightened color. "I'm showing it that I'm not dangerous," Jiho explained. On Earth we do this with horses, dogs, cats, and many other animals. It's a way to say hello without scaring them. The shadow maw sniffed the air. Jiho's scent was completely new. It did not smell like any creature the animal had met before. More importantly, it did not smell like fear. All the other beings in the room smelled terrified. Their fear scent filled the air like a thick cloud. But this human smelled calm, even interested. The shadow maw had never met a creature that was not afraid of it. Slowly, very slowly, the creature moved closer to Jiho. Its large paws made no sound on the floor. Each step was careful and controlled. Its red eyes never left Jiho's face. "It's coming toward you," Hana called out in panic. Her crystal body was barely glowing now. "Run!" "Running would make it chase me," Jiho said calmly. "That would trigger its hunting instincts. Right now it's just curious." The shadow maw was now only 3 feet away from Jiho. Close enough to kill him with one swipe of its claws, close enough for its poisonous bite to reach him in a second. Security forces were probably coming, but they would not arrive in time to save him if the creature decided to attack. The animal stretched its neck forward. Its nose came closer to Jiho's extended hand. He could feel its warm breath on his skin. He could see every detail of its face, the silver spots in its black fur, the way its whiskers twitched as it smelled him. Just like meeting a new cat, Jiho whispered to himself. The shadow maw's nose touched his hand. It was wet and cold, just like a dog's nose. The creature sniffed more deeply. Then something amazing happened. The animal made a sound that was not a growl. It was lower and softer, almost like the purring sound that cats made when they were happy. "It's purring," Jiho said with wonder in his voice. "Impossible," Professor Krixtal said through the communication system. "Shadow maws do not make friendly sounds, they only growl, roar, or hiss." But the evidence was right in front of them. The creature was making a deep rumbling sound of contentment. It pushed its head against Jiho's hand, asking to be petted. Jiho slowly moved his fingers to scratch behind the creature's ears. The shadow maw closed its eyes and leaned into the touch. The purring sound got louder. "This is impossible," Sora said from behind her shield. "No being has ever touched a shadow maw and lived." "Maybe no being ever tried to be friendly before," Jiho suggested. He found the spot behind the creature's ears that it seemed to like best. "Every animal needs affection, even predators." The alien students watched in complete shock. The most dangerous creature in their part of the galaxy was acting like a house pet. It was enjoying being petted by a human. Taewoo, another student who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "On my world, we kill predators before they can kill us. The idea of touching one is insane." "That's probably why they stay afraid and dangerous," Jiho said. He was now scratching under the creature's chin. It had rolled partially onto its side, like a cat wanting a belly rub. If you only show them violence, that's all they know how to give back. The security team finally arrived. They burst through the classroom doors wearing full protective armor and carrying energy weapons. When they saw the scene, they stopped and stared. Commander Yuki, the head of campus security, spoke through her helmet's speaker. What is happening here?" "The human is petting the shadow maw," Hana explained, her voice full of disbelief. "That's impossible," Commander Yuki said. "That's what we all said," Professor Krixtal replied. The security team slowly surrounded Jiho and the creature. They kept their weapons ready, but they did not know what to do. The shadow maw was not acting like the dangerous predator in their training manuals. "Can you make it go back into containment?" Commander Yuki asked Jiho. Jiho looked at the creature. It was completely relaxed now. Its breathing was slow and steady. Its eyes were half closed with pleasure as he petted it. "I think so," he said. "But not by forcing it. We have to make it want to go back." He slowly stood up. The shadow maw opened its eyes and looked at him. Jiho walked toward the open containment cage. The creature followed him like a dog following its owner. When they reached the cage, Jiho pointed inside. "Go on," he said gently. "Time to go home." The shadow maw looked at the cage, then at Jiho, then back at the cage. For a moment everyone thought it might refuse. But then the creature walked into the cage on its own. It turned around and sat down, looking at Jiho through the glass. It was still making that soft purring sound. The security team quickly activated the backup containment fields. The creature was safely locked away again. But everything had changed. Everyone in that room had seen something they thought was impossible. A deadly predator acting like a gentle pet. A human showing friendship to a creature that should have killed him. "How did you know it wouldn't hurt you?" Commander Yuki asked Jiho. Jiho shrugged. "I didn't know for sure, but I could see that it wasn't angry or hunting. It was just scared and confused. Every animal responds to kindness if you show it the right way." The alien students slowly came out from behind their shields. They looked at Jiho with new respect but also with confusion. What they had seen went against everything they thought they knew about predators. "Your species is very strange," Jiho said to Jiho. "You risk your life to be kind to something that could kill you." "Maybe that's why we survived," Jiho replied. "We learned that making friends is often safer than making enemies." The security office was much smaller than the classroom, but it felt just as tense. Jiho sat in a chair that was too big for him, designed for larger alien species. Around him, several officials asked questions and took notes on their electronic devices. Commander Yuki sat across from him, her helmet now removed. She was a Nethan, so her gaseous body swirled inside her clear containment suit. Her colors kept changing from blue to purple, which meant she was confused and concerned. "Let me understand this correctly," she said, reading from her notes. "You approached a shadow maw without any protective equipment. You touched it with your bare hands, and it did not attack you." "That's right," Jiho nodded. "The computer systems recorded everything," said Dr. Nayong, the head of interspecies psychology. She was a tall, thin being with 4 eyes and greenish skin. "According to our analysis, what happened should be impossible. Shadow maws attack any living creature that comes near them." "Maybe they attack because everyone expects them to attack," Jiho suggested. "Maybe they're just responding to fear and aggression." Professor Krixtal was also in the room. Her skin was still changing colors rapidly, a sign that she was very excited. "Explain to us how your species learned to interact with predators," she said. "This could change everything we know about dangerous creatures." Jiho thought about how to explain millions of years of human evolution in a way that aliens could understand. "On Earth, humans were not the strongest animals," he began. "We were not the fastest or the biggest. We lived in a world full of creatures that could kill us easily." "Then how did your species survive?" asked Commander Yuki. "We learned to understand them," Jiho said. "We watched how they moved, what sounds they made, how they acted when they were happy, sad, angry, or scared. We had to learn their language to stay alive." Dr. Nayung made notes on her device. "Most species in the galaxy evolved on worlds with fewer predators, or they developed technology early enough to avoid direct contact with dangerous animals. Your species is unusual. We lived alongside saber-toothed cats," Jiho continued. "These were huge cats with long, sharp teeth. They could kill a human with one bite. But we learned to read their body language. We knew when they were hunting and when they were just passing through our territory." "You shared territory with apex predators?" Professor Krixtal asked in amazement. "We had to. There was nowhere else to go, so we learned to coexist. We found out that most predators don't want to fight unless they have to. Fighting uses energy and risks injury. If they can avoid a fight, they will." Jiho stood up and began to pace around the room, using his hands to help explain. "We also lived with wolves. These were pack hunters that worked together to bring down large prey. They were smart and social. Over thousands of years, some wolves began to live near human settlements. They helped us hunt and we shared our food with them." "You made agreements with predators?" Dr. Nayung asked. "In a way, yes. The wolves that were friendly to humans had better access to food. They were more likely to survive and have babies. Over many generations, these wolves became dogs. They kept all their intelligence and strength, but they became our partners instead of our enemies." The room was quiet as the aliens tried to understand this concept. On their worlds, the idea of making friends with something that could kill you was completely foreign. "We did the same thing with cats," Jiho went on. "Wild cats began to live near human settlements because we had mice and rats that the cats wanted to hunt. The cats kept the rodents away from our food stores and we gave them shelter and protection. Eventually, some cats became pets." "Let me understand," Commander Yuki said slowly. "Your species deliberately kept predators in your homes?" "Many humans still do," Jiho smiled. "Dogs and cats are some of the most popular pets on Earth. They live with us, sleep in our beds, and eat our food. We love them like family members." "This is incredible," Professor Krixtal said. "You're telling us that humans regularly share living space with creatures that could harm them?" "Dogs and cats don't want to harm us," Jiho explained. We've been partners for so long that they see humans as part of their family pack. A dog will protect its human family with its life. A cat will purr and show affection to humans who treat it well. Dr. Nayung looked up from her notes. On my world, we consider it a great achievement that we eliminated all dangerous predators over 1,000 years ago. The idea that a species would choose to live with them is almost incomprehensible. That's probably why you don't understand their behavior, Jiho said. If you only see predators as enemies to be destroyed, you never learn how to communicate with them. But how do you know which ones are safe and which ones are dangerous? Commander Yuki asked. Body language, Jiho replied. A dog that's happy wags its tail and has relaxed ears. A dog that's angry or scared has its ears back and its tail low. Its fur might stand up on its neck. Once you know these signs, you can tell what the animal is feeling. And this works with alien creatures too? Professor Kriegstall asked. Many behaviors are universal, Jiho said. Fear, curiosity, aggression, contentment. They show up in similar ways across different species. The shadow maw today was scared, not angry. Its tail was low. Its ears were back. It was pacing nervously. These are fear behaviors that I've seen in Earth cats. Dr. Nayung was fascinated. So you used your knowledge of Earth predators to understand an alien predator? Basic emotions are pretty much the same everywhere. Jiho nodded. A scared animal acts scared whether it's from Earth or from the outer rim. The trick is learning to read the signs and responding with kindness instead of aggression. This could revolutionize how we handle dangerous specimens, Professor Kriegstall said excitedly. If we can learn to communicate with them instead of just containing them, we could learn so much more. It's not just about science, Jiho said. It's about respect. Every creature deserves to be understood, not just feared. Commander Yuki's colors shifted to a lighter blue, indicating that she was starting to feel more comfortable with the situation. I have to admit, what you did today was impressive, but it was also incredibly dangerous. Everything worthwhile is a little dangerous, Jiho replied. The key is understanding the risks and minimizing them through knowledge and respect. I want to set up a series of tests, Dr. Nayung said suddenly. With proper safety protocols, of course. But if humans really can communicate with dangerous creatures better than other species, this could be invaluable for xenobiology research. I'd be happy to help, Jiho agreed. But remember, it's not about humans being special. It's about approach and attitude. Any species could learn these techniques if they wanted to. Perhaps, Professor Kriegstall said. But most species would need to overcome millions of years of evolution that taught them to fear and avoid predators. Humans are unique because you learn to approach them instead. As the meeting ended, Jiho realized that his first day at the Galactic University had been more eventful than he had expected. He had not just attended a class. He had challenged the way an entire galactic civilization thought about dangerous creatures. Walking back to his dormitory, he passed other students in the hallway. Word of what had happened had already spread. Alien students stopped their conversations to stare at him as he walked by. Some looked at him with admiration. Others seemed afraid of him now, as if his ability to calm predators made him dangerous too. But Jiho just smiled and nodded to them politely. He was looking forward to tomorrow's classes. There was so much he could learn here, and apparently so much he could teach as well. News traveled fast through the Galactic University. By the next morning, every student and professor knew about the human who had petted a shadow maw. The story grew bigger as it spread from person to person, reaching other universities and research stations across the galaxy. Jiho woke up to find dozens of messages on his communication device. Reporters wanted interviews. Scientists wanted to study him. Some messages were friendly and curious. Others were suspicious and worried. Dr. Nayung contacted him early in the morning. Jiho, I need you to come to my office immediately. We have visitors from the Galactic Council of Sciences. The interspecies psychology building was buzzing with activity when Jiho arrived. Alien beings he had never seen before walked through the hallways. Some wore official-looking uniforms with important symbols. Dr. Nayung's office was crowded with distinguished visitors. Counselor Hirim, an elder Nethan with silver swirls in her gas form, floated at the head of the group. Her containment suit was decorated with medals and honors. So you are the human who befriended an apex predator, Counselor Hiram said when Jiho entered the room. Her voice was wise but cautious. I wouldn't say befriended, Jiho replied politely. I just showed it that I wasn't a threat. The distinction may be important, said another council member. This one was a krill named Wonseo. his insect body gleaming under the office lights. We need to understand exactly what happened and why. Doctor, Nayung activated a large display screen. I've been analyzing the incident from multiple angles. The data is remarkable. The screen showed biological readings from the Shadow Maw during its encounter with Jiho. Heart rate, stress hormones, brain, activity patterns. All the measurements that indicated the creature's emotional state. Look at this, Dr. Nayung pointed to a graph. When the containment field failed, the Shadow Maw's stress levels spiked dramatically. This is normal for a predator in an unfamiliar environment. The graph showed red spikes indicating extreme stress and fear. But watch what happens when Jiho approaches, she continued. The red spikes began to decrease. The creature's stress levels actually go down. Its heart rate slows. Its brain patterns shift from aggression to curiosity. This should be impossible, Wanseo said, his compound eyes examining the data closely. Predators do not become calmer when approached by potential prey. That's the key, Jiho said. I wasn't acting like prey. I wasn't running or showing fear. I was acting like another predator showing respect. Explain this concept of showing respect to a dangerous animal, Counselor Hiram requested. Jiho thought carefully about his words. When two predators meet in the wild, they don't always fight. Fighting is dangerous and uses energy. Instead, they have ways to show that they're not looking for trouble. He stood up and demonstrated. Moving slowly shows you're not hunting. Keeping your hands open shows you have no weapons. Making yourself smaller shows you're not trying to dominate. And these behaviors work across species barriers? Another council member asked. Basic social signals are surprisingly universal, Dr. Nayung interjected. My research shows that many emotional expressions and body language patterns appear in similar forms across different planets and evolutionary paths. The room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Finally, Counselor Hiram spoke again. If this is true, it could change how we handle dangerous xenobiological specimens across the galaxy. But we need more evidence than one incident. I've been documenting other cases, Dr. Nayung said excitedly. She pulled up new files on her screen. Yesterday afternoon, Jiho helped us with an aggressive plant specimen in the botany lab. The plant had been attacking anyone who came near. The screen showed footage of Jiho approaching a large vine-covered plant. The plant's movements were sharp and aggressive at first, but they became gentler as Jiho talked to it in a soft voice and moved slowly. He treated it like a frightened animal instead of a hostile plant, Dr. Nayung explained. Within an hour, the plant was allowing researchers to take samples without attacking them. A plant responded to animal behavior techniques? Wanseo asked in amazement. Many plants are more animal-like than we think, Jiho said. They respond to touch, sound, and movement. This one was probably just stressed from being in an artificial environment. Counselor Hiram floated closer to the screen. What other incidents have there been? Dr. Nayung pulled up more files. This morning, 3 more situations. The campus guard beasts that usually require electronic controls to manage. Jiho walked right up to them and they became docile. The aggressive fish specimens in the aquatic lab. He calmed them down by changing the lighting and water temperature to match their homeworld conditions. And the incident in the entomology lab, she continued. Escaped insects that were stinging anyone who approached them. Jiho realized they were trying to return to their nest, so he helped guide them back instead of trying to capture them. Thickwear. Council members looked at each other with expressions of amazement and concern. This human seems to have an unusual ability, one of them said. It's not just me, Jiho protested. Any human could learn these techniques. We just approach animals differently because of our evolutionary history. Tell us more about this evolutionary history, Counselor Hiram commanded. Jiho explained once again how humans had developed alongside predators. But this time, he had a new audience member who could add important information. Bong, his roommate, had arrived during the meeting. Bong was a krill who had been studying human history as part of his cultural exchange program. I have been researching human development, Bong said, his insect voice clicking with excitement. What Jiho says is correct, but it is even more remarkable than he describes. Bong activated his own datapad and shared information with the room's display system. Humans are the only known sapient species to have domesticated multiple predator species, he said. Dogs, cats, horses, even some bears and wolves. They turned their greatest threats into their closest allies. The statistical probability of this happening naturally is essentially 0, Wanseo calculated quickly. Most species that encounter superior predators either go extinct or develop technology to avoid them. But humans did neither, Bongu continued. They learned to communicate and cooperate. This created an evolutionary advantage that no other species has achieved. Dr. Nayung nodded enthusiastically. This is why Jiho can read animal behavior so well. His entire species evolved alongside creatures that would kill them if they misread the social signals. It's like a universal language, Jiho added. Fear, aggression, curiosity, contentment. These emotions look similar whether you're dealing with an earth tiger or an alien shadow maw. Counselor Hiram was quiet for a long moment, processing all this information. Finally, she spoke. If humans truly have this ability, they could be invaluable for xenobiological research. We lose dozens of researchers every year to encounters with dangerous specimens. We spend enormous resources on containment systems that often fail. But we need to be careful, once they're warned. We cannot risk human lives based on one successful interaction. I understand the risks, Jiho said. But I think the potential benefits are worth exploring. If we can learn to communicate with dangerous creatures instead of just containing them, we could discover so much more about them. And perhaps, Dr. Nayong added, other species could learn these techniques from humans. It could change how the entire galaxy approaches xenobiology. The meeting continued for several more hours. Plans were made for careful, controlled tests. Safety protocols were discussed. The potential implications for galactic science were debated. As the council members prepared to leave, Counselor Hiram approached Jiho personally. Young human, she said, you may have started something very important today. But remember that, with great abilities come great responsibilities. I understand, Jiho replied. I just want to help creatures be understood instead of feared. That, she said, may be the most important goal in the galaxy. The testing facility was located 3 star systems away from the university. It was built specifically to house the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The journey there took 2 days on a high-security transport ship. Jiho looked out the Maitoa ship's window at the massive space station ahead. It looked more like a fortress than a research facility. Thick metal walls, multiple defensive systems, and warning lights that flashed constantly. Are you sure you want to do this? Bong asked him for the 10th time. His insect friend had insisted on coming along to support him, even though he was terrified of what they were about to attempt. I'm sure, Jiho replied, though he felt nervous, butterflies in his stomach. If this works, it could help a lot of creatures. Dr. Nayung was also on the ship, along with a full team of scientists and medical staff. Counselor Hiram had come personally to observe the test. The stakes were higher than anything Jiho had ever faced. Apex Specimen 7 is unlike anything you've encountered before, Dr. Nayung warned him as they docked with the station. It has killed every organic being that has ever entered its containment area. Even our most experienced handlers use full robotic systems. The station's commander, a tall crystalline being named Dong-hyun, met them at the airlock. His body was a deep red color indicating high stress levels. I want to make it clear that I strongly oppose this test, Commander Dong-hyun said immediately. Specimen 7 is not just dangerous, it is pure killing instinct made manifest. They walked through corridors lined with containment cells. Most were empty, but some held creatures that made the Shadow Maw look like a house pet. Jiho tried not to think about what they could do to him. Tell me about Specimen 7's history, Jiho asked as they walked. Found on a dead world in the Outer Rim, Commander Dong-hyun explained. The planet was covered with the bones of every living thing. This creature had killed its entire ecosystem and then waited for something new to arrive. What does it look like? We're not entirely sure. It changes shape to match whatever it's hunting. Our cameras show different images every time we look at it. They reached a large observation room with thick armored windows. Beyond the glass was a containment chamber the size of a small building. The walls were covered with scorch marks and deep scratches. It's fought every containment system we've tried, Dr. Nayung said. Those marks are from its attempts to break free. Jiho pressed his face to the window, trying to see the creature inside. At first he saw nothing but shadows, then something moved in the darkness. It was hard to describe what he saw. The creature seemed to shift and change even as he watched it. Sometimes it looked like a massive spider. Other times like a giant serpent. Its eyes glowed with intelligence and hunger. How long has it been in containment? Jiho asked. 3 years. Commander Dong-hyun replied. We've tried everything. Sedatives, neural dampeners, isolation chambers. Nothing works. It remains aggressive and violent. Of course it does, Jiho said quietly. It's been locked in a box for 3 years with no stimulation, no companionship, nothing but walls and artificial light. Are you suggesting that we should feel sorry for a creature that destroyed an entire planet? Counselor Hiram asked. I'm saying that isolation drives any intelligent creature insane, Jiho replied, even dangerous ones. The testing chamber was prepared with every safety measure possible. Multiple containment fields, emergency evacuation systems, medical teams on standby, and enough firepower to destroy the entire section of the station if necessary. Jiho put on a light protective suit, though everyone knew it would not help if the creature decided to attack. The suit was more for the other observer's peace of mind than his protection. Remember, Dr. Nayong said over the communication system, you have 30 seconds to exit the chamber if things go wrong. The emergency extraction system will pull you out automatically. I understand, Jiho said, though he hoped he wouldn't need it. The massive door to the containment chamber opened with a hiss. The air inside was stale and cold. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls. Jiho stepped inside and the door sealed behind him. For a moment, he saw nothing. The chamber seemed empty except for the scars on the walls. Then he heard breathing in the darkness. The creature emerged from the shadows like a nightmare come to life. It was enormous, at least 12 feet tall and twice as long. Its body seemed to be made of living shadow, constantly shifting and changing shape. But Jiho forced himself to look past the frightening appearance. He watched the creature's movements, its posture, the way it held itself. Hello? He said softly. I'm not here to hurt you. The creature stopped moving. It tilted its head to one side, studying this strange small being that had entered its prison. Jiho could see intelligence in those glowing eyes. Not just animal cunning, but real awareness. This creature understood language, even if it couldn't speak. You've been alone for a long time, Jiho continued, slowly sitting down on the floor. That must be terrible. Outside the chamber, the observers watched in amazement and terror. The creature had never shown this much restraint before. Usually it attacked within seconds of seeing a living being. Look at its body language, Dr. Nayong whispered over the communication system. It's curious, not aggressive. The creature moved closer to Jiho, but its movements were slow and controlled. Not the quick strike of a predator, but the careful approach of something trying to understand. You're smart, aren't you? Jiho said. You know I'm different from the others. I'm not afraid of you. The creature stopped just a few feet away. This close, Jiho could see that its shape-shifting was actually a defensive mechanism. It was trying to figure out what form would be most effective against this strange visitor. You don't need to change for me, Jiho said gently. Just be yourself. Slowly, the creature's form stabilized. It became something that looked like a cross between a big cat and a dragon, similar to the shadow maw but much larger. Its true form was actually quite beautiful, with iridescent scales and graceful movements. There you are, Jiho smiled. That's much better. The creature made a sound, not a roar or growl, but something almost like a question. It sounded lonely. I know, Jiho said. Being locked up is hard, but maybe we can make things better. Slowly extended his hand, palm up, the same gesture he had used with the shadow maw. The creature looked at his hand for a long moment. Then impossibly it lowered its massive head and touched Jiho's palm with its nose. The contact sent a shock through the observation room. Commander Donghyun's crystal body turned bright white, with amazement. Counselor Hiram's gas form swirled rapidly with excitement. It's allowing physical contact, Dr. Nayong breathed. This is unprecedented. Jiho slowly moved his hand to scratch under the creature's chin, the way he had with countless animals back on Earth. The creature's eyes closed, and it made a sound that was almost like purring. You're not a monster, Jiho said quietly. You're just lonely and scared and angry. Anyone would be after 3 years in a box. The creature settled down next to Jiho, its massive body relaxing for the first time since its capture. For a few minutes, they simply sat together in comfortable silence. I wish I could take you somewhere better, Jiho said. Somewhere with space to run and things to see. The creature looked at him with what seemed like understanding. Then it did something that shocked everyone watching. It showed Jiho its injured leg. Hidden beneath its scales was a deep wound that had never healed properly. The creature had been in pain all this time, but it had never allowed anyone close enough to help. You're hurt, Jiho said with compassion. We need to fix this. Over the communication system, he called out, I need a medical team in here. It's injured and wants help. Absolutely not, Commander Donghyun replied. We cannot risk more personnel. It won't hurt anyone who's trying to help, Jiho said confidently. Look at it, it's asking for help. After much debate, a robotic medical unit was sent into the chamber. The creature allowed it to examine and treat its wound, remaining calm as long as Jiho stayed nearby. When the treatment was finished, the creature nuzzled Jiho's shoulder gently. It was a gesture of gratitude that needed no translation. You're welcome, Jiho said, scratching behind its ears. Everyone deserves to feel better. The test had lasted 4 hours. 4 hours of peaceful interaction with the most dangerous creature in known space. As Jiho prepared to leave, the creature seemed sad to see him go. I'll visit again, he promised, and maybe we can work on getting you a better place to live. As he left the chamber, Jiho felt a mixture of sadness and hope. He had proven that even the most dangerous creatures could be reached with patience and understanding. But he had also seen how much damage fear and isolation could cause. The creature wasn't evil. It was just broken by years of being treated as nothing but a threat. That was either the bravest or most foolish thing I've ever seen, Commander Donghyun said as they walked back to the observation room. Maybe both, Jiho replied, but it was the right thing to do. 6 months after the test with Apex Specimen 7, the Galactic University looked very different. The campus that had once been filled with fear and heavy security measures now buzzed with excitement and discovery. Jiho walked across the main courtyard, where something incredible was happening. Alien students were working alongside creatures that had once been considered too dangerous to approach. The campus guard beasts, which had required electronic controls just to feed, now happily interacted with their caretakers. Hana, the crystalline student who had been terrified during that first Shadow Maw incident, was now gently petting one of the guard beasts. Her body glowed with soft, happy colors as the creature nuzzled against her. I never imagined I could do this, she said to Jiho as he approached. 6 months ago, I was afraid of my own shadow. Now I'm learning to understand these magnificent beings. You're a natural, Jiho replied with a smile. You just needed to learn their language. The changes went far beyond the university campus. News of Jiho's success had spread throughout the galaxy, leading to what scientists were calling the Great Revelation. Dozens of research stations had requested human consultants to help with their dangerous specimen problems. Dr. Nayoung had become the leading expert in what she called interspecies behavioral psychology. Her research center was now the most requested facility in the galaxy for dangerous creature consultation. Jiho, she called out as he entered her office. I have some wonderful news. Her office walls were covered with success stories from around the galaxy. Photos of researchers working peacefully with creatures that had once been considered impossible to approach. Videos of hostile alien plants becoming cooperative when treated with understanding instead of force. The Galactic Council has approved funding for the new program, Dr. Nayoung announced. We're going to establish interspecies communication centers on 50 different worlds. That's amazing, Jiho said, looking at the proposals scattered across her desk. But will there be enough humans to staff all these centers? That's the beautiful part, she replied. We're not just using humans. We're teaching other species how to apply these techniques. Your roommate Bong has become one of our best instructors. It was true. Bong had overcome his natural krill fear of predators to become an expert in creature communication. His insect perspective actually gave him advantages that humans didn't have. He could detect chemical signals that humans missed. And his compound eyes could see behavioral patterns that others couldn't notice. The key insight, Dr. Nayoung continued, is that this isn't really about humans being special. It's about approach and attitude. Any species can learn these techniques if they're willing to overcome their evolutionary programming. Jiho nodded, but he knew it wasn't quite that simple. While other species could learn the techniques, humans still had natural advantages. Their evolutionary history had given them an intuitive understanding of predator behavior that was hard to replicate. Chancellor Dongyun had arrived on campus that morning for a special announcement. The former station commander had become one of the strongest supporters of the new program after seeing the results firsthand. The main auditorium was packed with students, professors, and visiting dignitaries from across the galaxy. Jiho sat in the front row next to his friends and colleagues who had been part of this journey. 6 months ago, Chancellor Donghyun began, we witnessed something that challenged everything we thought we knew about dangerous creatures Today I am proud to announce the establishment of the Galactic Institute for Interspecies Understanding. The audience erupted in applause. Species that had never worked together before were now collaborating on projects that would have been impossible before the Great Revelation. The Institute will be headquartered here at the Galactic University, the Chancellor continued, with branch centers throughout known space. Our mission is not just to contain dangerous creatures but to understand them and find ways to coexist peacefully. After the ceremony, Jiho found himself surrounded by reporters and well-wishers. Everyone wanted to know about the human who had started it all. "What do you think has been the most important discovery from all this?" asked one reporter. Jiho thought carefully before answering. "I think the most important thing we've learned is that dangerous and evil are not the same thing. Most aggressive creatures are just scared, hurt, or misunderstood. When we approach them with respect and patience instead of fear and violence, amazing things can happen." "But surely some creatures are just naturally violent," another reporter pressed. "Even Apex Specimen 7 turned out to be intelligent and capable of friendship," Jiho replied. "It was violent because it had been isolated and mistreated. When we addressed its pain and gave it companionship, it became gentle. Speaking of Specimen 7, the reporter continued, what's the current status of that creature?" Jiho's face lit up with a smile. "Actually, it has a name now. We call it Sabyok, which means dawn in my language, and it's no longer in a containment cell." This caused a stir among the reporters. The idea that the galaxy's most dangerous creature was no longer in maximum security was shocking news. "Sabyok is now living in a specially designed habitat on a research station," Jiho explained. "It has space to roam, other creatures to interact with, and researchers who visit regularly. It's actually become one of our most helpful research partners." "Research partner?" one reporter asked in amazement. "Sabyok is incredibly intelligent," Jiho said. "It can solve puzzles, communicate through symbols, and even helps us understand other difficult creatures. It turns out that its shape-shifting ability isn't just for hunting. It's also how it communicates and expresses emotions." The news conference continued for another hour, but Jiho's mind was already on the future. There was still so much work to do. Later that evening, he walked to his favorite spot on campus, a quiet garden where some of the gentler alien creatures lived. The Shadow Maw from his first class was there, now serving as a teaching assistant for new students. The creature recognized him immediately and approached with what could only be described as joy. It had grown fond of its life at the university, where it was respected rather than feared. "Hello, old friend," Jiho said, scratching behind its ears. The creature purred contentedly, a sound that no longer frightened anyone who heard it. Jiwoo, a new human exchange student, approached nervously. She had arrived just that week and was still getting used to the idea of living alongside creatures that would have terrified humans just a year ago. "Is it really safe?" she asked, watching Jiho interact with the Shadow Maw. "Safe is a relative term," Jiho replied. "But it's friendly. The key is understanding and respect. This creature knows that we're not threats, so it has no reason to be aggressive." "Will you teach me?" Jiwoo asked. "Of course," Jiho smiled. "But remember, I'm not the only teacher anymore. Students from dozens of species are learning these techniques. We're all teachers and students together." As the evening grew darker, more creatures emerged from their habitats. What had once been a heavily secured facility now felt more like a peaceful community. Predators and prey species that had never coexisted before were learning to live together in harmony. Taiwu, Mira, and Sora, the alien students who had been terrified during that first class, now worked as research assistants in the interspecies communication program. They had overcome their evolutionary fears to become bridges between species. "You know what the most amazing thing is?" Mira said as she floated over to join the group. "We've discovered that almost every hostile species we've encountered just wanted to be understood." "It makes sense when you think about it," Taiwu added. "Aggression usually comes from fear or pain. Remove those causes, and most creatures are naturally peaceful." Jiho looked around at the diverse group of beings, human, alien, and creature, all coexisting peacefully in the same space. It was something that would have been unimaginable just a year ago. "I think," he said quietly, "this is what the galaxy is supposed to look like. Not different species hiding from each other in fear, but all of us working together to understand and help each other." A message alert chimed on his communication device. It was from one of the new research stations that had requested human assistance. "Another success story," he said, reading the message. "They've made contact with a previously hostile crystal entity. It turns out it was just trying to protect its young. How many stations are reporting successful contact now? Jiwoo asked. Over 300, Jiho replied. And that number grows every day. As they walked back toward the dormitories, Jiho reflected on how much his life had changed. He had come to the Galactic University hoping to learn about alien life forms. Instead, he had ended up teaching the galaxy about the value of understanding and compassion. But perhaps that was the most human lesson of all. Throughout their history, humans had survived not by being the strongest or the smartest, but by learning to turn enemies into friends and strangers into family. Now, for the first time, the entire galaxy was learning that lesson too. What's next, for you? Jiwoo asked as they reached the dormitory entrance. Jiho looked up at the stars visible through the campus dome. Somewhere out there, new species were being discovered every day. Some were friendly, some were hostile, and many were simply misunderstood.